Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome again to this webinar on Amazon CloudFront, Amazon's content delivery service. This webinar is jointly presented by Shantanu Dutt, a solution architect from Amazon Seller Services India, and Varun Rajani, that is myself, founder of BlazeClan Technologies. In today's webinar, we would be covering, we'll be understanding the details about Amazon's content distribution service, Amazon CloudFront. Sorry for the disturbance. This webinar is divided into two parts. The first one, we'll have an introduction on Amazon Web Services CloudFront by Shantanu Dutt, which would be followed by details about certain use cases and case studies about Amazon CloudFront, which would be presented by BlazeClan Technologies. I would be presenting that on behalf of BlazeClan Technologies. We'll start the webinar now. I'll hand over the presentation to Shantanu Dutt to take it over and walk you through the introduction of Amazon CloudFront. Shantanu, good afternoon, and over to you.
Okay, thanks Varun for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining in. This is a great opportunity to actually learn and know about our CDN service, which is CloudFront, as Varun was mentioning. We've probably not done a lot of this before, that is through a joint webinar with our partners, and the reason we're doing it is obviously outside of our CDN service, which we offer as the infrastructure building block, there are a lot of value-add layers that our partner has added in terms of analytics, reporting, etc., which they will cover in the second half of this presentation, which jointly makes a great value proposition to most of our customers in India, in whichever space they might be, we'd like to be. Before I get started on specifically the CloudFront piece, what I do is, for those who might not be aware of the AWS services, I would like to spend just a couple of minutes to kind of give that background so that the context is set, because the larger picture is also important. So we started off as a company in terms of offering public services back in 2006, early 2006. And since then, obviously, it's been a great journey in terms of expanding, getting and acquiring hundreds and thousands of customers getting to use us across our different geographies. As of today, we have 9 regions which have data centers within them across the globe. 4 in the US, 1 in Dublin in the UK, 1 in Sao Paulo, Brazil, 1 in Sydney, Australia, and Singapore and Japan for our Asia customers. Anyone who has an account can actually connect to any one of these regions or multiple regions. We just charge you at a very nominal pay-per-use model, which makes our platform extremely attractive to most customers, if not all. Each of these regions have at least a couple of availability zones, and we have a total of 51 edge locations. These are the edge locations which belong to our CDN service, which is CloudFront. We keep expanding edge locations as we hear from customers, and as we see more traffic in a specific region, we will keep adding edge locations. What is not shown in this globe diagram is we do have a couple of edge locations in India as well, in Mumbai and Chennai. So our Indian customers have been asking for that for quite some time, and last July we actually launched edge locations in India. So Mumbai and Chennai do have edge locations. So a lot of our media and other news channel customers and the similar likes are actually leveraging these edge locations to kind of serve their end customers, which we'll kind of talk about in a few minutes towards the end of my presentation. To go along with this global infrastructure, we also have a set of services that we provide, and it's a complete stack of services. So we started off with a basic compute and storage offering way back in 2006, and since then, based on purely customer feedback, really, we honestly don't have a strategy team in place which kind of decides which kind of service we'll launch next year, but it's purely based on customer feedback. We have come up with an array of services in the last 8 years of operations, which includes compute, storage, databases, transcoding services, search as a service, big data as a service, and obviously CDN, not to speak the least. What you would see with these services is we really don't like to categorize ourselves as really IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS offering vendors, but someone who is into purely web services, which is anything and everything as a service depending on what a customer's pain areas are. So if you look at some of these services, Elastic Transcoder or Search or Elastic MapReduce, which is Hadoop as a service, they really can't be categorized as an IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS. It's purely anything as a service, really, in a pay-per-use model. So, for those who aren't aware, for some of the business folks, if you're on this call today, a CDN, as you would have heard of, is basically nothing but a content delivery network. It's basically just a generic term used for a technology to get to end users faster with a lower latency. Right? So it works with a similar concept of the edge locations, the 51 edge locations that we have across the globe. So CDN provider generally has edge locations, which are nothing but caching locations. So when your end customer or end user comes to your website, downloads an object from your website, or watches a streaming video if you're in the media space, they are actually served from the lowest latency edge locations closest to their source versus going all the way to the source. This is probably the basic logic based on which CDNs work. Content is basically purely stored based on popularity. So as the popularity of an object grows, the content is cached and stored in that edge location. The obvious advantages are lower latency and scalability, because you're talking about multiple users kind of being served from their own edge locations. But outside of latency, which is the obvious benefit, a couple of other benefits that also exist are offloading your main web servers or your database servers, because remember, when you are serving these, without a CDN, all the traffic requests come into your website and your database, and your entire infrastructure basically has to be scalable to manage all these workloads, versus doing it via CDN, where you're spread across the globe, across multiple caching locations and caching servers. You're basically offloading all those connections across those caching servers, and your main web and database servers could be just meant for a transactional data, which also in a way reduces cost for bandwidth and other reasons. Another underrated kind of advantage of a CDN is redundancy across multiple servers, right? So instead of having this one big fat monolithic or even multi-tier setup across one data center, you're basically kind of geographically spreading across your risk of caching all these images and videos across multiple locations, and hence availability of your site or your end product goes up drastically. The Amazon way of doing things has always been in the form of flywheels, right? We like to call it, which is basically listening to customer feedback, coming up with a specific service or a product, which, by virtue of being low cost and pay-per-use, tends to increase and be attractive to multiple customers. And as we achieve economies of scale with respect to multiple customers coming on us, we try and reduce our pricing. We have reduced pricing 41 times across our services in the last 7.5 years because of the volumes that we've achieved, which in turn attracts more customers and more infrastructure, and then that cycle actually keeps going on. And this is no different for our CloudFront service as well. Right? When we started off a few years ago, among our other 40 services that we have today, CloudFront was basically meant for customer focus, and it was meant for addressing specific concerns about global availability, redundancy, scalability, and low latency for customers who wished to serve rich content in terms of videos, objects, or even the dynamic content for the entire website delivery, and make it easy to use. In terms of CloudFront itself, our CDN story, it's been expanding across multiple geographic locations I was mentioning, and we have also been adding a lot of features based on our customers' requests. So as of today, we support serving different kinds of objects or traffic or workloads type. You could choose to serve your static content, which is obviously there right from the beginning, or you could even choose to serve all your dynamic content and actually basically accelerate your entire website using CDN on CloudFront. So everything on your website basically can be entirely delivered out of CloudFront today as in how you wish to. It is not mandatory to do so. You could choose to actually serve only certain parts of the website, static parts of the website via CloudFront, but we do support serving the entire website as well. As you all would agree, in the recent 2 years or 3 years, streaming of videos and movies and TVs, serials on the web is becoming an increasingly attractive business, and as India as well. It was always there in the West, but in India with tablet devices and other devices coming in and becoming more pervasive, and having 3G and 4G connectivity more and more prevalent across cities and towns, we are starting to see this increasingly as the popular use case across multiple media companies. So streaming is something that CloudFront obviously supports by default out of the box across multiple devices and multiple protocols. We support on-demand streaming, that is a video on demand as some people call it. You could do it in a couple of ways. One is use a third-party streaming server like a Voxa Media server or even Adobe if you wanted to on an EC2 instance of Amazon, and then serve that in a HTTP streaming format. Could be in Apple's HLS format or high definition streaming or even smooth streaming for Microsoft. We also support RTMP protocol streaming, wherein you can actually store your media files on our storage service called as S3 and just point the CloudFront to an RTMP distribution stored on an S3 bucket, in which case you don't even need a server to stream it. It will automatically seamlessly just stream, just storing on a S3 storage device. Live streaming is starting to become popular as well, and use of CDN for that is starting to gain traction. IPL cricket matches for some of the contractors and providers or even other events like weddings, etc. Are the typical use cases that we see among our customers. In fact, to give you an even recent example, every year we hold an Amazon Web Services Summit where we have our CTO, Werner Vogels, come down to address our summit audience. Because the registrations are overwhelming, we tend to kind of close our registrations earlier than time because there's only so much that hotel can fit into. And what we do is the last city, the last leg of that tour, we typically do a live streaming so that for audiences who couldn't attend earlier can actually see that on their mobile devices or tablet devices or PC desktop devices the entire day streaming. And we actually use our own services and CloudFront to actually stream that, and it's completely seamless. So customers use one of the three solutions. They use a Voxa Media server. They could use the Adobe Media server, which uses Flash Player and supports Apple iOS devices. Or you could obviously use Windows Media Services for live smooth streaming as well. To also make it simple for not so familiar users with our platform, we have a concept of Cloud Formation, which is nothing but a template with the entire stack of live streaming setup set up. So whatever you need to do with setting up a Voxa Media server and a CloudFront distribution and start live streaming, we've actually bundled it in a template which is available publicly. So you don't have to go through the entire steps. You can literally, after you have an Amazon account, get set up with a live streaming setup in a matter of 10 minutes or 15 minutes max with the setup completely or partially automated. One thing that I was mentioning just when I started this presentation, when I was showing the entire stack of services that we have, was how rapidly we have grown in terms of adding services and how we really some of our services really can't be categorized into any one of the IaaS SaaS categories because it's just plain web services. And Elastic Transcoder is one such service as well, which is basically, simply put, transcoding as a service so that you don't have to spend time purchasing and installing transcoding and encoding softwares on servers or on Amazon Cloud. This is basically a pay-per-use, completely managed transcoding workflow wherein you just create a simple stream of video files or audio files coming into the service, and the Elastic Transcoder will actually transcode and give you the output and the bit rate that you have asked for in standard definition or high definition. This kind of is very useful for some of our media customers where transcoding can actually scale to a certain level and you need to have a big team in place to kind of handle transcoding workflow versus here where it's completely automated. Costing for this is extremely simple because it is very cost effective. The number of minutes it takes to transcode, we charge you a few cents, as low as $1.50 per minute of transcoding time taken. This obviously is integrated with other AWS services, including CloudFront. So there are customers who kind of create workflows by transcoding, using Elastic Transcoder and using some of the chunks to on-the-fly stream it via CloudFront. This is just kind of a sort of a heat map that we got from a source, which is looking at the general traffic patterns across the globe on relative IPv4 utilization using ICMP ping requests. So as you can see from the map, most of the heat maps where internet traffic and the ICMP utilization is maximum, we are pretty much present there with an edge location. And we obviously continue to add more edge locations, but for those who have questions in terms of is there an edge location in every possible popular geography on this planet, on the internet, and the answer is yes. We do observe such patterns and keep adding edge locations. Apart from obviously listening to customer feedback, which is also a great pointer in terms of deciding where the next edge location would be. There are some tests that we have run via third-party tools. Chalenges, for those who aren't aware, is a third-party site or a tool or a platform which actually helps you measure availability and performance of various CDNs put together. So you can actually do multiplexing across multiple CDNs based on performance and latency response times. And in terms of global availability, we've done some tests, and the data has been really encouraging in terms of how CloudFront shows its availability and its SLAs versus other CDN providers. We've also done some tests, and these are specific to the US, where the straight line that you see is basically the latency response times between 10th percentile to 95 percentile, which means 95% of customers should get a response time which is equal or much lesser than the response time that you see in milliseconds in terms of latency or performance. And the orange boxes that you see are basically just requests and the response times between the 25th percentile to 75th percentile. So 50% of all requests that come in on this line, the chances are that they will fall under that bracket of less than a few milliseconds. CloudFront being the second in the bracket. So these are tests done specifically for the US, but there can be similar performance tests done across the world as well. And Chalenges obviously gives you a free version of reporting and reporting performance across CDN. So you are free to test that if you set up a CloudFormation template using use a CloudFront distribution as of today using an account. I won't go through all the features. As I was saying earlier, we have added quite a lot of features based on purely customer feedback in the recent past, especially in the last 6 to 8 months, because we believe this is a space where most of the customers would benefit from. Apart from the various streaming options, we do give you a lot of options for security directly out of the box or through our marketplace partners. We give you various settings and options of dynamic content acceleration and different areas of price flexibility. In terms of accessing it, it is very simple to do. You could use our set of APIs or SDKs to access CloudFront, which is what some developers like using, but obviously we have developed our GUI console as well to a great degree to instill a lot of settings in there so that getting started can be very easy without using the APIs if you wanted to. Setting up itself is super simple. It takes literally 5 to 6 minutes to set up an Amazon account for all our services, and then starting off with CloudFront takes literally a couple of minutes when you create a distribution using a CloudFormation template if you wish for a live streaming distribution or a VOD, or even just accelerating your website entirely via CloudFront. There is no long-term contract or commitment default. You can just test this on demand, pay-per-use as you wish. And in terms of help needed, we are obviously there to help. A lot of our customers, because it's a self-service sign-up platform, not only with CloudFront but other services as well, don't even know that we exist in India. So we do have offices and employees in the north, in Delhi, in the west, in Mumbai, and the south in Bangalore. And we have technical solution architects or 24/7 customer service agents staffed across the globe, depending on what kind of support you need, to kind of help you setting this up. Obviously, it is self-service. You can actually literally set this up without contacting us, but if you need additional help, we are just an email or a phone call away in the same currently. The pricing is completely flexible. The on-demand pricing is available on our website, and we do have commitment-based pricing available where AWS Inc. is willing to negotiate based on your commitments that you have, and those are pretty competitive in the market as well, given our volumes. Coming back to my earlier slide, as I was mentioning that we have this entire stack of products. So looking at these, especially things like DNS and EC2, our storage service and Elastic Transcoder service, CloudFront fits right in between with these very, very easily. Now, you could obviously use a custom origin to serve, let's say, a website, or serve your images from your data center if you wish to. So we don't mandate you to really use all our services, but then if you wish to, obviously given the pay-per-use and the scalability, the integration points are already done, so there will be no integration required in that sense. Not that it requires rocket science to integrate CloudFront with the origin service, but in terms of cost, scalability, and the pay-per-use nature of the entire setup, using CloudFront in front with the backend instances of Amazon, whether it's EC2 compute or S3 storage, obviously increases your scalability and overall reduces your pricing. Some of the customers that we have across the globe as well as India is fast increasing. Obviously, as part of Amazon Web Services itself, we literally have hundreds and thousands of customers across the globe and counting. We work on a very high volume, low margin business. So being self-service, we have customers signing up every day and using a variety of services. And then what you see on the screen are some of the big names, including Amazon.com, which is a parent company, but we interestingly treat them as a customer. It could be IMDb, Oyala, Siga, Samsung, NASA. All of these customers use us in some way or the other, especially with respect to CloudFront. We obviously have other hundreds and hundreds of customers using our other services outside of CloudFront as well. Moving closer to home in India, we obviously, as you can see on your screen, have a lot of media portal customers or news channels or other startup-y slash job portal customers like Shine.com who use CloudFront to accelerate either their website or their images and videos or streaming using CloudFront to accelerate their content to their end users. That's it from my side. These are my connects. So if you have a question, we will obviously have a Q&A round towards the end where you can type in your questions. But in case you don't get a chance to get all your questions answered, I'm more than happy to kind of answer them in email. With that, what I'll do is I'll transfer the control back to our good friend Varun. BlazeClan, who've been our esteemed partners, have kind of developed a few solutions on top of us to kind of fill some of the gaps that we might not have, and we believe that's the right way to go, and we see the synergies there. So outside of what you can see with CloudFront functionality and what you can create with distributions, there are other avenues and areas where you can go over and beyond in terms of analytics, reporting, having dashboards, etc. Again, in a pay-per-use model at a very nominal cost. And that's what BlazeClan will actually talk to you about. So using CloudFront to actually do end-to-end integration to build an entire solution, especially for our media customers or even otherwise. So with that, I'll hand it over to Varun. Over to you, Varun.
Thank you, Shantanu. Thank you for taking us through the Amazon the CloudFront presentation. To everyone, just a small request. Please bear with us. We are getting a barrage of questions. We already have around 10 to 15 questions in the question box. So please bear with us. We will be answering all of those questions at the end of this webinar. Once I take you through the solutions that we have. We'll have 10 to 15 minutes at the end of the webinar to answer as many questions as possible. So as Shantanu mentioned, CloudFront is the content distribution network by Amazon Web Services, and there are a lot of use cases, a lot of case studies that CloudFront could be used for distributing your content. Your content could be static content, dynamic content, it could be streaming content, or it could even be software downloads for all that matters. So what we at BlazeClan have done is, we've served a lot of our customers to get on board with Amazon CloudFront. We've helped them deploy a lot of different kind of solutions, and we'll talk about 4 specific solutions which are related to Amazon CloudFront during the next 20 to 30 minutes. So the solutions that I would be talking about is one. We'll be talking about a media solution for the media industry, where the customers have a lot of requirements of streaming audio and video files. Next, we would be talking about certain download distributions. So I'll take you through a case study that we have deployed for one of our customers for using CloudFront for downloading content. So they are a software provider, and they have software files which get downloaded across the globe. Next, we have developed a solution, a platform, software as a service platform to analyze the distribution of the content that happens using CloudFront and Amazon S3. Basically, have certain analytics on top of it. So that's a software as a service called Cloudlytics.com. And finally, I'll be talking about, I'll be giving a live demo wherein I'll show you our live website, that is our domain BlazeClan.com, which is being rendered using CloudFront. The same website, but using which is not streamed using CloudFront, but is just hosted on an EC2 instance. So we'll just show you a live demo on the performance and show how it performs, the CloudFront versus non-CloudFront website, in terms of loading speeds and requests and all of those things. So let me start with the first solution, which is the solution for the media industry. Now, if you think about it, the technology, the media sector, as we would like to call it, is divided into four basic kind of players. The first one is the broadcasters. You would name, the NDTVs of the world or the Sony televisions of the world, who are, distributing content, broadcasting content. The next is the publishers, who could be, your news websites or newspaper websites or ebook websites or even the e-commerce portals. Then we have the studios, which are the content generators, and finally we have the gaming companies, which develop online games. So there are certain set of challenges which are common to all of these companies or all of these customers of ours across the media industry, right? And we could identify those 5 major challenges that they have. Which we have tried to create a solution or a bunch of solutions which would help them to resolve all of these 5 major challenges. So the first challenge that we find with almost all of our customers is large-scale data transfer and storage. So if imagine, so if you are a media entity, if you are a broadcasting company, or if you are a content generator, you would be creating videos in multiple different formats and multiple different bit rates, high definition, low definition, and you'll have tons of clips, tons of programs, tons of movies, which you would have to store somewhere. So you need large-scale data transfer, one which would help you to move your data onto the cloud, onto AWS, and then once you have that content onto AWS, you need to stream it. So the second challenge that a lot of our customers face is enabling live media streaming for their content, which is being broadcasted live. The next challenge is the content transcoding. As Santanu mentioned, if you are not using cloud and if you are using your in-house infrastructure, you would be basically investing a lot of money, both in hardware as well as the team that to support the content transcoding bit of your IT infrastructure. And finally, you need a content distribution network wherein you need to distribute your content to the audiences worldwide. And finally, the challenge that a lot of our customers have come back to us and told us is that they have very little insight on how their content is distributed, who is viewing their content, for how long, using which devices, and using which browsers, etc. So so getting those analytics on top of the content distribution is the first major challenge that our customers are facing. So to solve all of these challenges, we have created a small technology stack using mostly AWS components, and wherever there are no ready-made AWS components available, we have tried to use third-party tools or have created our own set of tools to help you surpass all of these challenges. So the first and foremost challenge, as we talked about, is the large-scale data transfer and storage. So Amazon Web Services has a lot of good storage services, including Amazon S3, which Santanu briefly mentioned about. So it's always ideal to keep your content onto Amazon S3 because of low cost as well as high redundancy, to ensure that the content that is stored on S3 is safe and secure and is highly available all the time. So for storage bit, you can use S3, but the challenge comes is because you are creating most of your content on premise, you need to transfer that content onto Amazon Cloud, onto Amazon S3, or any other storage service from Amazon Web Services like Glacier or very huge pipeline, data pipe to connect between your on-premise servers and onto AWS gateways, AWS services, or you need, you could use other services or available from AWS or certain things that we provide. So, one way to transfer your large amount of content when you are doing it one time is using a service called Amazon Import-Export. If you have to move data continuously between on-premises infrastructure and on-cloud infrastructure, you could use another service called as Amazon Gateway. Or you could use file transfer accelerators. There are a lot of open source tools which are available in the market, as well as a lot of proprietary tools which would actually use the same bandwidth, but using the UDP protocol would increase the speed of transfers from your on-premise onto cloud. So this part of this piece of challenges, handled in multiple ways depending on your particular use case. The second challenge that a lot of our customers face is live media streaming. So, we do have CloudFormation templates which are available to create the complete media stack for live streaming. But in case you need any help on it, if you need to set up, or if you're stuck somewhere, we have capabilities in-house capabilities and expertise which we have used for a lot of our customers to do this encoding, live encoding during capturing the data live and then transferring it to AWS and then streaming it using CloudFront. So you could use a file transfer accelerator, you could use a third-party encoder to capture and transfer the files immediately, large amount of data, transfer it into multiple formats, and then distribute it using Amazon CloudFront. So that is the next bit of the solution. The third challenge that is there and is there with anybody who wants to broadcast a lot of audio and video content is the transcoding bit. These days, with the increase in the mobility and the types of different mobile devices that we have, the number of formats that your website or your content distribution network needs to support is increasing. So, for example, the protocol supported by iOS would not be the same as the protocol supported by, say, a Windows phone. So, it is a challenge for all the distribution companies to transport their content into multiple different formats, so that to ensure that each of their customers, no matter what devices they are using, whether it's a desktop, whether it's a mobile device, anything, they are able to view or listen to your content readily. So to do content transcoding, we have a small set of tools which we have created, which basically uses services like Amazon SQS and Amazon Elastic Transcoder to basically transcode your content into multiple different formats depending on your requirements, and then store it into Amazon S3 and eventually distribute it using Amazon CloudFront. The next challenge, of course, is the content distribution, which we have been talking about today. So once your content is transcoded, you need to distribute that content, and the best service that we suggest most of our customers in India, especially after the recent launch of the edge locations in Mumbai and Chennai, is Amazon CloudFront. So using Amazon CloudFront, you could distribute your streaming content, which would include your audio and video files, as well as you could do a download distribution, which could be downloading images or downloading files or even hosting complete websites. So that is the content distribution part. Next, we talk about the content distribution analytics. So a lot of our customers for whom we deployed Amazon CloudFront came back to us and mentioned that there is no service which helps them in analyzing the content, which is the patterns in which the content is being distributed across the globe using Amazon CloudFront. So what we did is we created a small tool called Cloudlytics.com. It's a software as a service platform about which we'll just talk about in a few minutes, which helps you basically analyze the usage patterns of all the content that you distribute using Amazon CloudFront or even Amazon S3. So this is the complete solution architecture, which any media or a publishing house or a gaming company or even an e-commerce company would require in terms of using multiple different types of AWS services to ensure that the content that they are distributing using AWS or any services of AWS, including EC2, S3, or CloudFront, we help them in doing the end-to-end setup, and we help them do customizations and fill in the gaps where certain services are not meeting their requirements from AWS. So this is the first set of solution that I wanted to share with you guys. The next solution that we have, of course, in using CloudFront is the CloudFront distribution for downloads. Now, the previous section was mainly about streaming data, streaming audio and video files, but a lot of our customers also have a requirement of distributing content which is not streaming but which has to be downloaded onto a user's machine or a user's end device. So for that, I would like to highlight one of the case studies that we've done for our customer. The customer is a multi-billion-dollar enterprise based out of Silicon Valley in the US. It's an engineering and technology company. So this a customer of ours basically purchased a product company from Google. Previously the company called SketchUp.com was purchased by our customer, and SketchUp is basically a 3D modeling tool, and which is very popular among amateurs and professional architects as well as designers across the globe. So the numbers that we are looking at is based on the popularity, the SketchUp team used to distribute this content to almost 15 million downloads every year, and the downloads size would be a 60 MB file or 60 MB executable, which you could basically install it on your machine and start using the software. So when the customer approached us, they did not have any download infrastructure available at their end. They were purchasing a company from from Google, so Google used to support the downloads. But now, once the company was under them, they did not have the IT infrastructure to support the downloads, and they were looking for a solution which would actually help them in distributing this content quickly and in a cost-effective manner. So what we did is we suggested them to use Amazon CloudFront. And we did the complete migration of the files. So the files were in different formats, each supporting Windows laptop or Windows operating system, Linux operating system, Mac OS, etc. And it was available in multiple different languages because this software was popular across the globe. So what we did is, migrated all their content, all their files onto Amazon S3 first, and then helped them set up, Amazon CloudFront to distribute all of their content, distribute all of their downloads. So there were a couple of requirements as well, which were not directly met by CloudFront at that point in time. One of them was, blocking download requests from embargoed countries, which would mean that US has sanctions on certain countries where their companies could not distribute any kind of products. So we had to identify the request coming in and identify the IP address and figure out if that country is from a particular embargoed country list, and then block that user from downloading the content. So that was one requirement. And then of course there were other requirements like speed, availability, and secure downloads. So what we did as a solution was we deployed the solution, certain piece of codes which used to identify the embargoed countries list and which would also generate the signed URLs. So signed URLs are something using which you could actually protect your content which is being distributed. You could generate a new URL specifically for a particular session, and that URL could expire in certain few seconds or after the session is over. And yeah, so that was basically it. So what we did is we created a set of EC2 instance, wherein the code for both embargoed countries as well as creating the signed URLs was there, and we then once the signed URL was created, it was passed back to the user, and the download would start automatically. So this is a sample architecture that we had deployed for that particular customer. The good feedback that we had received from their team, from SketchUp team, was that that their downloads were even better than that they had at the previous company. So this is the other solution. So we have a lot of expertise wherein we've helped a lot of companies to actually distribute their content, even if it is a download content, using CloudFront and helping them create reports which would meet their business requirement, as in this case of embargoed countries and signed URLs. Right. Coming on to the next solution that I wanted to talk about today was the Cloudlytics.com platform. Cloudlytics is a software as a service platform, as I mentioned earlier, which helps you analyze your S3 and CloudFront logs. So as of today, there is no service on Amazon on AWS that helps you analyze the content which is distributed using CloudFront or S3. So we identified that gap based on our customer requirements, and we developed this tool, which basically helps you in identifying and running your identifying the download and streaming patterns of your customers, what kind of devices they use, what kind of browsers they use, when you get to see the maximum amount of downloads, etc. So there are multiple different reports that you would have using Amazon, using Cloudlytics. I have just shared screen some reports on my screen, which are available for your usage. So we have geographic region-wise statistics that could be viewed. You could figure out what were the failed downloads, how many were the successful downloads, each based on the country, edge location, etc. You could figure out partial downloads, complete downloads, browser stats, operating system stats, etc. The next report we have is the edge location details section, which is basically giving out details from which edge location your content was either streamed or downloaded. You could also check the country of the edge location, where the edge location is basically located. Check which country has the maximum number of requests. Check the edge location traffic by clicking on map, zoom in, zoom out of the maps. We also have a bunch of custom reports which you could use to basically apply your own filters and have all kind of permutations and combinations basically to get to the details that you would require. Then there are a bunch of reports that you could see, IP reports, which would help you in identifying the most the IP addresses from which you could from which your content is being requested the most. The download reports, timeline reports, which would give you certain time and date of the week, day, month, wherein you had the maximum peaks in terms of request to your content. And we also have popular download reports, which would give you top 10 reports, etc. So this was a brief details around 300 customers. We launched this product 6 months back. We now have over 300 customers spread across the globe. And some of those customers are listed out here, some of the large ones, of course. We have Indian customers like Apalya. We have large gaming customers like Supercell. We have marketing distribution companies like HubSpot as our customers. And we are adding at least daily basis onto this. So this was about Cloudlytics. Next, what I would like you to demonstrate is a live demo of a website which is hosted using CloudFront versus a website which is not hosted using Cloudlytics. So to do that, we believe in showing the results upfront. So what I'll do is, we have hosted our complete website, BlazeClan.com, that is our homepage of our domain name, onto CloudFront. So what I'll do is, we have this tool called webpagetest.org. It's a free tool available online for everyone to use, which basically gives you statistics about about the website that about the performance of your website. So what we'll do is we'll compare the two websites which we had created, and I'll show you how the difference in the performance for the two websites. So just give me a second, guys. I've done this test in front of you. So we have two URLs. One is BlazeClan.com, which is our CloudFront hosted website, and we created a replica of that website called webinardemo.blazeclan.com. This demo is basically hosted on AWS, but at EC2, and it does not use CloudFront as a service. So we'll run this test. We'll have to wait for a few seconds for this test to complete, and at the end of the test, we'll get to see a lot of graphs and charts, which would basically give you the difference in the performance when a website is hosted using CloudFront versus a website which is not hosted using CloudFront. So I'll let that test to complete. I think it is taking a bit longer. It's it seems there's a queue there. So what I'll do in the meanwhile is I'll come back to this at the end of the webinar. Meanwhile, we could just go through the Q&As that you have posted, and I'll also have Santanu with me to answer those questions. Santanu, so what I'll do is I'll read out the questions one by one, and maybe based on the type of questions, either you or I could answer those questions. Shantanu, are you there?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Right. So I'll just, what I'll do is I'll go through the questions one by one, and you could answer those questions, or I could answer those questions depending on what the question is.
Yeah, in fact, what I did, Varun, was I just took the liberty of answering some of them anyway, just in case.
Okay.
On the context, but we could pick and choose some of them anyway, right? So, yeah, I could get started. We could probably do them in random order since there are a lot of questions.
Right.
Someone mentioned, can we use a combination of S3 and CloudFront to kind of download objects, right? Is it only for distribution of content, or can it be used for downloading as well? Absolutely. I mean, we've always believed that the use cases of CDN are, underrated. You could actually use CDN for any static object, whether it's to load on your page or even kind of use it for download by creating a download distributions. For example, an antivirus company, for example, right, which serves its patches and regular releases via the web. Just imagine if the latency of that were to reduce by X percentage because the user is served from a nearer edge location. The perception of the user about that company or the website really, it really becomes good, and that kind of helps stickiness of the user to a particular website. So, yeah, you could basically use it for downloads as well. It's completely up to you as to how you want to use it, whether you want to distribute it for loading of pages or download. There were a couple of other questions. In fact, 2 or 3 people asking whether could we have a single EC2 instance and then have a CDN in front of it? Yeah, absolutely, you could. It comes down to what application or site that you're running. If that is enough for one EC2 instance to be supported by it, you could absolutely run that. CloudFront has no restrictions or minimum prerequisite in terms of needing resources at the origin. The resource could be a S3 bucket, which is a static object, or it could be a small EC2 instance running a small website, the content of which could be served by CloudFront. So you need not really have 2 instances or 1 instances. Now, from a high availability or redundancy recommended point of view, you might want to run more than 1 instance, run 2 small instances instead of running 1 big instance to have the cost the same, so that if that 1 instance fails, you are not down and out, right? So from a high availability perspective, you might want to run 2 instances. What else? Varun, I'll kind of pass it to you to pick up 2 or 3 questions as well.
No problem. Sure, Sanji. Right, so, okay. All right, so there's a question, probably something you'll have to answer again, is what is the maximum number of requests with response served by Amazon? I'm not sure if I'm getting that question correctly, but Santanu, if you could answer that.
Number of requests with response served by Amazon. So yeah, I'm not sure what you mean. So there is no limit in terms of the maximum number of requests. If you mean in terms of performance, right, is there a bottleneck of CloudFront hitting limits if there are hundreds and thousands of connections coming from all over the world? No. That is in fact one of the advantages of using a CDN like CloudFront, which means that instead of all those connections coming to a single web server or a single storage bucket, you're basically digressing and multiplexing your traffic across the 51 edge locations depending on where your users are coming from, or X number of edge locations depending on where your users are focused on. So absolutely, there are no problems in terms of response times, neither are there limits in terms of what the upper limit is in terms of the number of requests that your end users could make. We have users who work at a large scale making hundreds and thousands of requests per second, and that is absolutely no problem.
So another question is how much difference in terms of time it will take if we use CDN in front of S3. So it depends basically on the location where your S3 bucket is and where your end customer is. But definitely, if you have a global audience, it is always recommended to use a CDN in front of your S3 tool, sorry, in front of your S3 bucket, which would definitely reduce the latencies for your end customers. Right. So then, there are questions like, can we disable hot linking of certain resources using CloudFront? And can we disable hot linking after a certain number of requests? I'm not sure what this hot linking would be, but I would assume that you want to restrict access for a particular end customer or an end user, depending on his location or IP address, or just disable the link based on certain after a few seconds. So yes, you could do that using there is a feature in CloudFront which was released a few months back, which is called restricting geo-restriction feature, wherein you could restrict users from a certain region, and also you could disable the links that you generate, the signed URLs that you generate for distributing your CloudFront content after a few seconds. It could expire after a few seconds or after the session is complete. So next question is, can I use CloudFront for dynamic content? Shantanu, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that was part of our initial kind of slides right at the beginning. You can use, CloudFront to serve dynamic content of varying nature on your website. In fact, your entire website, which contains probably a mix of static and dynamic content, can be served by CloudFront very efficiently. And we give you various options and settings to do that, right from setting a TTL to 0, wherein CloudFront can go back to the origin, do the TCP optimization and serve your end user traffic in a more optimal way, to other settings as well. If you're interested more in terms of more details, just drop us an email. We'll be more than happy to chat about it. But yeah, absolutely. CloudFront supports static and dynamic content equally well.
Okay. So the next question is, depending on the load on the website, do we need more number of CDN in front of S3 or EC2, or only one CDN can serve the purpose? So the answer to this is, CDN is not the number of servers, but it's just an edge location or a caching server. As Sandri earlier mentioned, there are 51 of those edge locations spread across the globe for Amazon CloudFront. So once you put your content onto the CDN, and you did not worry about the number of edge locations or the number of servers that are there at a particular edge location. You just cache your content onto those edge locations, and AWS will take care of scaling up and scaling down. You are just charged based on the amount of content that you stream or that you download using your CDN. Next question is, can we use pattern to invalidate objects, example star.jpg? Yes, you could do that. You could either invalidate the complete path or just invalidate a certain set of files using wildcard characters as star or slash or whatever. Yes, you could do that. So there are certain specific questions like how to create .m3 U8 using AWS Transcoding service. So I would suggest that you either get in touch with Shantanu or myself to get those answers, get those questions answered, because it is very specific for a particular use case. The next question is, we have set up an EPS with scaling up and scaling down rules, but somehow my site keeps going down. I think, yeah, you could drop a note to Shantanu and he should be able to help you out with that. Shantanu, are there any questions that I might have missed out? And there are a lot of them, so I'm just navigating.
Yeah, in the beginning there were, which I took my best shot to answer most of them, but I might have missed. So in case I have missed, my apologies. Send me a note either to me or Varun. There was one particular question from a gaming company asking if you have a gaming site in serving Indian customers in India, how is a CDN useful to a gaming company? Well, my answer would be, if you have any downloads that users are doing, the client downloads of the game, or there are heavy images on your main website, they either do server-side processing or it's just a website to drive your users. You could use that, whether the end device is a mobile device, tablet device, or a PC desktop, PC laptop device. You could use CloudFront to actually accelerate those downloads or the loading of those objects on your gaming site, simply because the end users will be served from the nearest edge locations in Mumbai or Chennai. What else? There were a couple of other customers asking for needing to know more about configuration for setting up a live streaming site or a video on demand site. So that's probably a little, I mean, it's easy to do. It's just that in the interest of time, it's a little difficult to explain on a webinar call. But as I said, drop me an email and we'll be more than happy to call you back. and explain the setup and the configuration details.
All right. So, I'm just typing down my email ID as well as Santanu's email ID for everybody's records. If you have any queries after this, please do feel free to write to us onto our email IDs, and we would be happy to answer all your queries. I'll just take a couple of minutes to again go back to the web page test load that we did and just show you the results. So, as I said, the first one, the CF one, is the website which is hosted on using CloudFront, which is BlazeClan.com, and then there was this demo website which was hosted on AWS but not using Amazon CloudFront. So, as you could see, the CloudFront, the website hosted on CloudFront actually got loaded under 2 seconds, whereas the website which was just there on the AWS Singapore region got loaded in 4.6 seconds. That's almost 100% difference when it comes to the timings of the loading times for these two websites. Just to give you an idea, this test was conducted from Dulles in Virginia in North America, and it was conducted using a cable internet connection. Our EC2 instances for the second part are hosted in the Singapore region. The EC2 instances for the CloudFront website are also hosted in the Singapore region, but we have it. We are distributing it using Amazon CloudFront for faster loading times. Just to give you an idea, this is just the visual progress in terms of the loading times of the websites. Next, whatever time it took to visually completely download the website, the load time, the time to load the first byte, etc., could be seen in this graph. So as you could see, in all of those parameters, the site which is hosted using CloudFront is much faster, is loaded much faster compared to the non-CloudFront sites. These are the number of requests that each site made. As it is a duplicate, we have the same number of requests for each of these websites and the same number of bytes downloaded. So, as I would say, put it again, CloudFront does definitely help you to improve your performance. This is a live demo of it. You could yourself go ahead and try out, loading your websites at webpagetest.org, and we could definitely. You should be able to see a major difference in terms of load times. So with this, I would like to end this webinar. As mentioned, in case if you have any queries, please feel free to drop a note to either Santanu or me. Our email IDs are there on the chat, or you could just mail us at info@blazeclan.com, and we should be able to help you with all your AWS requirements.
Just one last announcement, Varun. Before we end, just one last announcement to everyone. This is important. Just hold on. We are doing a face-to-face small event on the 6th of March at Bandra Kurla Complex. We will give you more details as you contact us. This is specifically a similar event to what we did just now, but a more broader and face-to-face event jointly between BlazeClan and Amazon Web Services. This will be on the 6th of March again from morning 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. followed by lunch from us. And this is a dedicated session for a group of 25 customers, specifically to discuss use cases and see how CloudFront and CDN, and along with the AWS infrastructure piece, along with BlazeClan solution end-to-end, fits as a good piece for some of you who could be prospects for our platform. So just drop us an email and we will get back to you. Obviously seats are limited. If we cannot accommodate you, we will call you on an alternate day to our office. We will conduct multiple such sessions. So do get in touch with us and we will get back to you and call you back to chat with you with more details. That's it from me.
All right. Thank you, Shantanu, for the update. Just to note that we would be sharing the presentation today onto a SlideShare very soon with the complete recording of the webinar as well. You should receive that email in a day or two. Thank you all for participating, taking your time out and attending this webinar. I hope it was helpful to you. And in case of queries, get in touch with Santanu or me.